you can sort of get the idea of what I'm being put through in Tacoma by Seattle. By putting yourself in a situation where, okay, somebody slashes the tires on your car. You go out and find the tires on your car slashed. You know the person who did it. There are enough indications to show who it was. And so you start talking to people saying there are indications that this person wanted me to know that they slashed my tires, but that's what I think slashed my tires. So they put in a file report with the power structure that they have built. He's going to get me in trouble. He's going to get me injured. He's trying to incite hate towards me. All I'm trying to do is stop these seemingly terminal aggressors from doing vicious and aggressive things towards me. And they refuse to stop. The evidence of how serious their poaching is a very long list of things. And they refuse to stop because they think they have a moral calculus. Now, in order to understand the moral calculus that they think they have, you have to understand, for example, AOC came out and said, it's a pity that we spend so much money keeping the mentally ill in jail. And it is. But I don't remember ever hearing her say that means the mentally ill should shake down deafness, disabled, poverty-stricken victims of trauma. But the people who vote for AOC in the Seattle area interpret her comment that way. And in their secret councils, they say, you know that they spend a lot of money keeping the mentally ill in jail. Therefore, we as terminal sickos should shake down the deafness, disabled, multiply disabled seniors and victims of trauma. And AOC, of course, knows that that's how they think and what she's feeding. But she averts, I didn't hear that. Don't worry, I didn't hear that. And they come and they complain to AOC. They say Queerball has been naming names about the people who have tortured him and done much worse things than slash his tires. And we're scared. It's a Hollywood shakedown. I wrote a poem about Mr. Robert Fripp. He depicts me as Don Quixote after a virgin. Really, he was Don Quixote poaching a windmill. He comes out and says, no more talk to the windmill. I'm going to get the windmill and I'm going to give it to the windmill for my Dulcinea. And Dulcinea was a figment or a pigment of his disordered imagination. And he sits in his Swami Nostra Ouija board, conjuring Gurdjieff Ouspensky, Shimish, Infinite Kunda Buffer. And he gets everybody laughing while he uploads a murderous operation of Poach as a blank check from a Hollywood Disney special operation. And they pulled the plugs on American civilian authority. Now, Tacoma has a real laugh at this. When I go into the coalition, I make sure to remind everybody, you're supposed to put me on notice. I talk too loud, and we don't know if it's because I'm deaf or if it's because I'm inconsiderate of others. And they all have heard from Seattle. They all bow their heads knowingly. Yes, that certainly is true. That's what we all have been told to determine. And I say, so don't forget that if my hearing aid batteries go off, that that I'm not different. Everybody has hearing aid batteries that go off. If I need to talk into my iPhone to remember something because I can't write because they gave me Parkinson's, it's because nobody's allowed to use an iPhone, and therefore, what? Seattle is right about me. Seattle is right about you. Seattle is right about you. It's not that you're deaf, it's that you're ignoring us. So Seattle was right to ban me from school. Seattle was right to cover for the rape and torture and murder of innocent people, to scare and intimidate me and frustrate my attempts to go back to school. This we know in all authority of Swami and Highness. Okay, so I've made clear at Tacoma Community College that I don't want anything to do with them. Now, I have said that the reason is that they lack the dignities of the official school process. They're filled with proud boy networks and proud girl networks. They're the type of insurrectionists. They poison me in the mouth. They've done all sorts of dirties, and they say they can run circles around me. At Sound Mental Health, they had a bumper sticker that said, "We're our gamer son wasted your honor student." Do I look wasted? I'm deaf. I have neurotrauma. I've been castrated. I have Parkinson's. I've been alone for 30 years. I've had every single day that I've stared into space gone before the lynch mob of the Seattle clubhouse showman pickpocket movement, who won, who've been looking licky chops in my mother's union last will and testament, and said, yes, don't forget that I am deafness impaired. And everybody is deafness impaired. So how dare I think I'm different? Yes, we know. We notice that your voice is louder. We notice that you like to talk and you're starved for conversation. That's, for a moment, defense of me. I'm an accelerated learner in the honors department, Phi Theta Kappa, who's on to a very sophisticated fact of history tracing back to the origins of fascism in the Croatia Italian town of Fiume before the rise of Mussolini. Oh, what's that mean? You can't talk about that in room two. So they have the Swami Nosha laughing, haha, we know he's schizophrenic. He has all of these ideas. Well, so when I said it's common community college, just stay away from me, right? Because if you don't stay away from me, well, maybe you'll come up on the street and start ripper murdering me since that's your proclivity, right? But you don't want to do that because you'll get around UW ripper murdered some guy who was critical of them. So, no, it's not guaranteed that they won't go about it that way. I mean, they certainly made clear that they're capable of it. They wouldn't stop them, that they would get in trouble. Yeah, it's, as I said, but the problem is that somebody might ask me to present what is the sum of indications about what happened. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. People at TCC had prior knowledge of the COVID-19. The Trumpington impunities. They were operating under the authority of Ringo Starr's Mad Hatterdom on the West Coast with the NAACP up and down the West Coast. The postal union authorities were, and I disapprove it. So, I mean, I'm going to assemble, the sum of indications and show. They were doing it to me during the AIDS attack too. So, I don't approve kicking our grannies off the earth. I don't. And they say, oh well, the queers will get you for disapproving of their vicious extermination. The queers in UW Dialectical TCC is absolutely right about that. Seattle has mongered up a whole lot of, oh, yes, from the queers with the help of Yoko Ono, who says, oh, yes. He disapproves of the AIDS attack. But more importantly, we had an invisible ink scientific experiment going showing that his deafness was him stuffing clay in his throat. That was Donald Gruber's contribution, like Schlickel-Gruber. Donald, like Schlickel-Gruber, Hitler's maiden name. Donald Gruber said I had stuffed clay in my throat. That's how I became disabled, you know. So, and why the doctors had to come and stick my ass in my cock. My mother explained all this to him, and he circulated around the neighborhood. So they have this, explanation about invisible ink. Yes, he disapproves and tried to save queer laws, but ha ha ha, we had this invisible ink Houdini operation that says, get this, and Clint Eastwood has machines, 16 millimeter projections machines, antique, that say Queerball could have saved John Lennon. So the queers come out and they say, there's the, there's the anti-spider from Mars who could have saved John Lennon. And they're all brainwashed to do this, right? And so I go in and I say, you know that I'm the anti-queerball who could have saved me. Yes, yes. And the clubhouse movement is perfectly within their reason to believe that my deafness is proof that I think I'm special. Yes, yes. And the fact that I reported somebody doing something much worse than slashing my tires means I'm anti the black man. And they go, yes, that's the big one. That's the big one. The KKK has declared the queerball liberal anti the black man. Yes, yes. So, you know, the sum of total probability of all coincidences in the matter is zero. And they have Chomsky saying, the U.S. can't be trusted. Well, the truth is, what they did was the Republicans say this stuff about the Great Replacement. I mean, it's clear that Schwarzenegger married in, released COVID, and took off. He left. He replaced Cersei with Greta and been going through nightmares trying to protect her from the ramifications of this. And and the Republicans say, "Ooh, foul play by the Democrats." Ooh, but the real replacement was, we'll take Kennedy out, put in Bush E-turn, and upload the installation of the black man Obama. He gets to ride the escalator up, and Jesse Jackson says, "Let those who had the party pay for the party." So Jesse Jackson is like, and one of the King family, I don't know if it was Bernice or the other one, actually lit a fire like a burning cross against gay rights. And they're like, and all she had to do is say, Queerball could have saved John Lennon. And they went, oh, it's like the nights you say neat. Oh, the queers wanted revenge. He reported a queer who tortured him as a child. He reported a queer who tortured him as a child. That's much, much, much more to the point of UW dialectical special token representations. That's the all important symbolism, the special token representation. The queers say, get him, get him, get him. He tried to find out who started AIDS second. And they were rubber hatters. That's our money. Give us our money. Tell us you'll give it to us. Tell us you'll give us the money, and we won't let word of this single word of this get out past Ringo's star. Give us all of the money. Nobody's going to give them anything. You know, but it makes sense to them. They have this Foucault pendulum called the penny. Penny positive, penny negative, penny positive. Does she or doesn't she have AIDS? Only Penis Gabriel and his hairdresser know for sure. And this comes from the mind of these psychotics. Robert Frederick King Crimson came launching at me with a lance. That's the windmill of his Dawsonaire. He said, I see what? I see a deafness man who thinks he's special. And everybody at TASS said, yes, we know, we understand and fathom this. So help me fulfill my sacred trust to Dulcinea. Dulcinea, I will protect you from the windmill. This is Robert Fripp's psychotic, weird, faddish, accelerated sexual imagination going through the Mysterian control box with Dan Rather and George Takei and Brian Eno and David Jeffman and even these Russians. And he's pulling these levers because he's Don Quixote with his lance. He's going to get the windmill. You go in and that it says, I don't think he's making this up, but we don't think he's dangerous. And they're like, and they go, what do you? It's like somebody is, don't wake us up. Don't wake us up. You can't. That's a windmill. Robert Fripp says the windmill must be grinded out for Dulcinea. Don't play. Jeannie knows best because Jeannie was the first one. Just said she had what liars there. She just went. She's a deaf girl. She's my best friend. I won't tell you how they mistreated her, but it was real. She was an orphan Korean girl. I love orphan Korea. Poor orphan Korea. It's sad, sad thing. But I love her. I'm not ashamed of it.